Here doing a video on a SUV this time. I haven't done one yet, so I figured I'd go ahead and do one. And today I've chosen to do a video on the 2016 Chevrolet Tahoe LTZ. Now this one is a fairly loaded model. In fact, it comes through at about $73,500. That's a lot for an SUV. Yes, you can get an SUV cheaper. You can go with the smaller model, Equinox, Traverse, whatever. However, for a lot of folks, they just want the big dog. They want the Tahoe. They want the Suburban. They want the big truck. Can't blame them. So let's do a walk around and we will see what you think of it. This is the 2016 Chevrolet Tahoe LTZ. It doesn't look a lot different from the previous year. However, it does have some fundamental changes in it that are for the better. They're going to be shown to you on the inside of the vehicle. Starting at the front of it, it does have, of course, HID headlights and fog lights and the really nice looking chrome grille. The Tahoes have always had the best looking front end, and for years I actually preferred the Avalanche because it had the Tahoe Suburban front end for the longest time. Coming to the side here, this is a black one with chrome wheels. It originally had been optioned with polished wheels, but in the options list it shows it was upgraded to the chrome wheels. Not a bad looking wheel. I will say though, it's probably the weakest effort from GM, as they normally make a very good looking wheel. Walking up to the vehicle, it does have just the key fob nowadays, and it's got all the functions on there. You have the glass release, the rear tailgate release, auto start function, or remote start function, pardon me. So you don't even need to take it out of your pocket. But this one has the power deployable running boards, and I don't know about you guys, but I have a really bad habit of smashing my shins into these whenever I get into them. This vehicle is equipped with a magnetic ride suspension in it, so that is a really nice thing to have. It allows it to be more reactive and supportive on the road. It's not all roly-poly and all over the place. Coming to the back, as I said, does have the rear lift gate, which opens to give you access to the third row, as well as the small cargo area behind it. For most buyers, this will be enough room, but of course you can step up to the Suburban, which basically includes room just behind that seat. That's another 18 inches, I believe. It's a very classic design is how I would put it. It's not a revolutionary design by any means. It's just a nice evolution of the species, and they went to a slightly more upright style than they had on the previous versions, because when they came out with the 07, they did a complete departure from the standard truck, and then when they redesigned it again, they evolutioned it. And as you can see, like here up at the top, all the window lines are sharper. They went back to a creased straight line style, versus some of them had a rounded window style during the last couple of years of its production in the previous generation. Like the rear glass here is more upright going into the tailgate, versus the previous version, which had much more of a curve going to the top. Here it has the 5.3 liter V8. It's a good engine, makes 355 horsepower, 383 foot-pounds of torque, which is a far departure from where it started. When it first came out in 99.5, I think it made 235 horsepower and like 300 foot-pounds of torque. So it's come quite a long way. Pretty quiet. It's very smooth running, which I appreciate in a big V8. One thing that I could have put in the interior walk around, but I wound up putting here in the exterior, is the fact that it of course has the power lift gate, but it also has push button release for the second row and powered third row, which is always a nice thing to have. Let's go on to the inside now and we'll take a look at a few things. So starting off on the inside of the car, one of the coolest features, and I don't even know if you can see it too well. Yeah, you can. See right there? The heads-up display. But one of the cool things is this is the newest version of it, so it has extra features. The original cars that had it, being the Pontiac Grand Prix and the Pontiac Bonneville and the Corvettes, they all had a very basic version that did at least show radio stations, but they were never as configurable as they are now. So that's a really cool thing to have. Starting from the left, you have the standard suite of controls, buttons, and functions that you see in a lot of the GM vehicles, which, as I said, is not a bad thing. Stop saying it is. But up here, let's start on this side, you have your heads-up display or HUD controls. You have your brightness settings, your info button, as well as your height, because obviously different drivers of different heights wouldn't be able to see that itty-bitty thing if it was too low or too high. Then on this side, you have all your different controls. You have your traction control button, your parking sensors assist buttons, your lane departure, and your adaptive cruise control, as well as your power adjustable pedals. Down here you have your headlight and your 4x4 control switches again. Like I said when we were in the Colorado, this could potentially create an issue if you just jump into the vehicle without paying any attention to what you're doing and grab the wrong knob and twist it. However, at least on this vehicle, they are angled upwards, so you can at least see them better. And when you're sitting behind the steering wheel, they're readily visible and they're hard to miss. Trailer brake controller on this side as well. Coming up to the steering wheel, you have your very similar array of buttons as were on the other vehicles we all looked at. Radio controls as well as the voice control buttons. On this side you have your heated steering wheel button. Toasty digits. Forward collision warning button as well as your cruise control buttons. Moving on to the dashboard, as you can see, it's very similar to the truck. However, these are digital. These are not analog. It's just a fancy thing they do nowadays. Take it or leave it. They could have just popped in the truck dashboard, but they wanted to be a little bit special, and okay, I applaud them for it. Push button start, which again is becoming the absolute industry standard. This is the current radio setup from GM, although this one does still have a CD player. But it is the Apple CarPlay enabled, Android Auto enabled, smartphone controlled, newest doohickey dad bobber whatchamafletsit. I wanted to show you this, that's why this screen is up, and that's valet mode. I don't know if any of you have it in your vehicles, but most vehicles with the navigation system have this set up. What you have here is a PIN number that allows you to lock out a lot of the functions of this screen. It actually locks it out so they can't use your navigation, shouldn't even be able to use your radio. But it serves another purpose in this vehicle, and I will show you what that is. This is one of the coolest features of this vehicle, I think. Yes, yes, yes! The motorized hideable hideaway screen. Of course, you have your full array, cup holders, USB jacks, power ports, and as you saw inside that bad boy, it's got the USB port in there so you can plug in a device and just leave it in there to charge, as well as the wireless charging pad. Inside the cavernous center console, you have a bag for all your loose stuff, or file folders if you're a businessman, and another set of power port and USB jacks. Heated seats, AC seats, everything you need to keep you comfortable on a long drive. Now we're going to jump into the back and check out the room. One feature I forgot to show you guys was the power adjustable steering wheel. Very convenient to have. Allows for almost infinite adjustment of the steering column. As you can see, this model is equipped with the bucket seats for the middle and the bench seat for the rear. Sorry, that's plastic from shipping, should have been taken off. And in the back, this one does have the rear DVD entertainment system. Very common on these vehicles. Nowadays, more and more people are getting them. However, we have seen a lot of folks that actually opt to not have that screen and instead want to have headrest monitors. Although this is a really good one, it's even a Blu-ray player, so that's cool. You have your functions and controls down here for things like the rear AC, rear heat, as well as inputs, multiple inputs of course, for the television, and 2 more power ports. One is a standard power outlet, the other one is another power jack. Legroom is a little tight for me the way the seat is right now, but again, that's just because I'm a tall dude. As you can see, if I was sitting behind the passenger seat, there would be no issues. One area where the Tahoe falls a little bit short of the Expedition is in third row room. The reason for that is the Expedition has an independent rear suspension in it. The Tahoe and the Suburbans have standard solid beam rear axles. When you have that, it does compromise the legroom or at least where you can put your feet. As you can see here, my feet are quite elevated and I would not be too comfortable back here. However, there is plenty of headroom, so that's a plus. If I had to be back here, I pray it would only be for a very short trip. So the more input I get from you guys, the better they'll become and the more informative and fun they'll become. So again, please leave me a comment. Tell me what you think I'm doing wrong, what I should improve on, other than equipment, because I know that that's coming. You guys are just gonna have to bear with me on that. Looking at the window sticker here, you will see it does have a pretty high sticker, 72,990 or 980, but there's a few added features that are on an addendum. It is a 4G LTE equipped vehicle, so that's nice to have. And the safety ratings, it gets a 4-star overall, but that's because it's brought down by the rollover, and that's only 3 stars. And that does tend to happen when you have such a large open canopy like this, because you can't put enough bracing in it to really make it as stiff as like a car could. $875 is what got you the reconfigurable center cluster here that lets you adjust how all that appears. As you can see, when you use the controls on the steering wheel, it actually changes and allows you to select different functions. So that's pretty cool. And that also included the heads-up display. One of the packages that I would highly recommend for this truck would be the $500 max trailering package, because what that includes is a 3:42 ratio for the rear axle. What comes standard is a 308. The difference in acceleration is quite noticeable when you have a 342 versus a 308. Fuel economy, 18 miles per gallon combined, 16 city, 22 highway. Those will vary, of course, depending on how you drive. And they're not too far off from my Mustang, as funny as that is. Okay, so here we are now. We're on the drive, and this one has the 5.3 liter V8, which is a fairly strong motor. They've made a lot of improvements over the years, giving it more power, more fuel economy, and just overall it's become a much more sophisticated engine. I remember when it first came out in the 99.5 Chevy pickups, I thought it was a little weak suck, but that was what, 16, 17 years ago? So yeah, they've done quite well. The example I'm in has a couple of extras on it that I really think help it out, and one is the max trailer tow package. This vehicle has a 3.42 rear end in it, which is better for towing. It allows it to accelerate better, but especially when it's unladen and not hauling anything, it does also help in that respect as well, because it allows the vehicle to accelerate a little bit quicker. I'm not saying these things are rockets, but it does allow it to get up and move a lot faster than comparable vehicles. Steering's pretty good. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. You know, it's easily one-handable. I know most people are like, well, you should drive at 10 and 2 like this, but you know, I'm usually busy at 10 o'clock in the morning. One of the biggest things they've focused on, especially even going from the previous generation to this one, is ride. And it's a very welcome thing, because the first generation Tahoes were not that pleasant to ride in. They were very truck-like because they were basically just trucks with bodies on them. Nowadays, they are much finer tuned, and the suspension is different from that in the trucks. Like, you could, back in the day, take the rear axle out of a Suburban and throw it into the back of a truck very easily, or you could take the front suspension and throw it into a truck. That's not the case anymore. Acceleration is decent, easily keeps up with traffic. Unfortunately, I'm stuck in traffic, so I can't actually get on it or anything. This one does have the heads-up display, so you can keep your eyes on the road. It shows you everything that's going on, which I enjoy and I like. So taking a cloverleaf now, it's posted at 25 miles an hour. I'll take it just a little bit over just to see what the body motions are like. It's not terrible. It does handle it okay. It's not the best in the world, but it's not the worst either. Rear visibility isn't as bad as I was expecting. Obviously, you can put the headrests down, which will allow you to see better out of the back window. This one is not terrible for me. Because I am taller, I can sit up higher and see out of the back a little bit better. And I'm sitting a little more upright than I normally would, just because I didn't spend 10 minutes adjusting this seat. One thing I didn't notice, and I just found it out as I was parking the vehicle, and I just had to make it into the video, is when you're backing up, the seat vibrates for whichever side of the vehicle you're going to impact the next guy with. So Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all your input. I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate the thumbs down. However, I would ask that if you're going to give me a thumbs down, that possibly you leave me a message and tell me why you gave me the thumbs down. Some people were leaving me thumbs down on my Volt video, and quite honestly, I actually have more negative thumbs downs than I do thumbs up on that video. And it stirred some controversy, which is fine. I expect that kind of stuff, but please leave me some criticism, leave me some tips, leave me some ideas. I've not been doing this as long as a lot of other people, and I'm trying to develop my own style. Until then, thank you so much to Ted Britt for letting me borrow the truck and not freaking out when you see me driving them down the road. And I will be putting up a few more this week. Unfortunately, the equipment I'm using now, the phone that I'm using now, is overheating more. So I have to film in short bursts, so I'm only able to film like 2 videos a day, and then I get like 2 days ahead that way, and then I have to go and film a few more at a time. So if I miss a day, I will put up something else, but hopefully that won't happen. And until I see you again, talk to you later. I see we meet again, Mr. Bond. Welcome. Oh, wait, no, I didn't mean to do that. Oh! My apologies, Mr. Bond. Would you mind going outside and coming back in?